But Molly seemed fine. She was smirking and giggling. We knew something was up. She went to the bathroom and we all looked at each other. We didn't expect anything, but what happens next is shocking. She came back about 30 minutes later, having a tissue over her eye. We asked what's wrong. She said she'd been crying. Although when she removed the towel, she didn't have a red eye, which is what usually happens once she cried. She said something had happened, but she didn't feel comfortable telling us because we didn't like her anymore. We said that's not what's happening, we just didn't want you to keep saying those things. She said okay, and she played with us at break. At break, she asked us what our last names were. We thought it was pretty random, but we told her anyway. The next lesson, the principal calls us out and says, Molly said she doesn't feel wanted at this school because of you three girls. We said, what do you mean? He said we'd been calling her bad names. He said we'd been calling her rude things. We said no. We said we were just confronting her, that she was making us feel weird. So we said, right, okay, I'll speak to her. She comes back in crying. We asked what's wrong and she said, the principal told me off. I was like, well, yeah, that's for lying. And she said, what do you mean? You guys don't like me again? We were like, well, not really, because you've got us in trouble. I said, it's okay, I totally understand. I've been unwanted before. She was making a big deal over a really small thing. We all thought this was kind of stupid. Anyway, her and her friends decide to take one of our friends aside. She comes back bruised. We asked her what happened. She said they'd beat her up. So we told the principal and he said, oh, stop lying. They just told us you beat them up. We looked at each other and then looked at Molly. She was waving and smirking in the cloakroom. We walked to her and said, what do you think you were doing? She said, I don't know, and showed us a makeup palette. New story time, guys. Here is part 1 of how me and my best friend were dating the same guy, but we didn't know. We're going to call this guy Ron. Anyway, so as soon as I stepped into my new school, I instantly had a crush on this guy. Ron was cute, but, you know, I knew it wasn't going to last long. Well, at least that's what I thought. I was thinking, what a great couple we'd have. I was picturing my first name and his last. I was picturing our future and everything we could do together. Although I realised it's just a fantasy. He was playing football and I decided to approach him and confront him about my feelings. He said he felt the same and decided he would go out on a date with me. I told him, how about we go to the park? He said, wow, that sounds wonderful. My bestie says, I have a boyfriend. So I said, hey, I have a boyfriend too. She said, let's keep them secret because let's keep it a surprise. So I was like, okay. Anyway, so we started describing our boyfriends and their personality. Turns out our boyfriends were pretty similar. So we said, ooh, that's interesting. We could double date. And she was like, oh yeah, where are you going? I said, we're going to the park. So the next day she comes back and said, my boyfriend doesn't want to go to the park. I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, so our date comes and he says, you're so pretty. I said, oh, thank you. What else do you like about me? It took him a while and then he said, you're really nice. I was suspicious about this because I want a guy to love me for who I am, not for my looks. I knew there was something off because he wasn't seeming like himself. My bestie walks up to me and she starts crying. I said, what is it? She said, my boyfriend only loves me for my looks. I said, so does mine. We said, well, let's get revenge on him together. So we decided to come up with a plan. We would both tell our boyfriends that we were okay with it, but secretly we were going to plot a revenge. We decided to tell the boys, oh yeah, Don't worry about it. It's okay. Anyway, so my best friend starts describing her appearance of her boyfriend. I said, whoa, same as mine. So I asked my boyfriend if he had an identical twin. He said no. I told my best friend and said, you don't think? I said no. I cut her off because I didn't want to even have that thought. If I wanted a boyfriend, I wanted a boy who wouldn't cheat. So I didn't even think about him cheating. I didn't want to. It would ruin our relationship. Anyway, so one day he decides to break up with me and I start crying. My best friend says, what are you crying for? I said, well, my boyfriend broke up with me. He said, oh, that's so sad. Anyway, word gets about that I was dating this guy. She asked me, wait, you were dating Ron? I was like, yeah. She was like, but Ron was my boyfriend. I was like, no, because Ron, he's my boyfriend. He was like, no. Anyway, we had this big argument about whose boyfriend. I started to get mad at her because I was like, girl, I know he's my boyfriend. He was my boyfriend. But then the thought came to me, oh wait, he's cheating, isn't he? I sank into my chair and realised how I did my bestie wrong. I told her, I'm so sorry. She said, oh, it's okay, I forgive you. Anyway, we decided to plan a revenge, and the revenge was brutal. Once Ron had finished his test paper, we threw it in the bin. We spilled drinks on it and accidentally threw it to shreds. He asked, hey, what did you do that for? I said, oh, I don't know, maybe go ask your girlfriend. Oh, wait, you don't have one? He was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I do have one. And he was like, and my bestie was like, not anymore. You told her, didn't you? He said to me. I said, yeah, maybe I did. He's like, oh, you little... We won't let him finish that sentence. Anyway, what happened next was me and my best friend started getting a lot closer than we already were. I asked her, the more time I spend with you, the better I feel. She was like, yeah, same. I was like, well, would you like to be my girlfriend? She said yes, and she started blushing. I knew she'd actually been feeling like this for a long time. I'd been reading her notes that she secretly kept in her pencil case. I know that seems like stalking, but, I've felt this way for a long time as well. Anyway, so a couple months go by and we start dating. But we don't tell anyone because we're afraid they were going to make fun of us. We're going to call my bestie Lucia. Anyway, Lucia was my best friend and always had been. So it wasn't that weird that we were now dating. Anyway, Lucia and me fought very little, and it was very rare that we'd actually fight. I loved her with all my heart, and she did too. Every time this guy was looking over at us, we flipped him off. He shouldn't have said these things to us, and he shouldn't have treated us that badly. We don't like this guy. We've never had. But we decided to play along with it because he's cute. Anyway, this guy kept asking us questions about why we were spending so time together, why were we keeping so private, why were we being so mysterious, but we decided not to answer him. He was super cute, but even that wouldn't let us tell him. Even that wouldn't... Yeah, I can't speak. Even that wouldn't... I cannot speak. Even for that, she wouldn't let me tell him. After a couple months after that, I thought she was having trust issues. I confronted her about it, and she said, no, I just don't want people to make fun of us. So we started telling our closest friends, and they seem okay with it. We don't want to tell a teacher because they will break us up, because they don't like students dating, which we think is really unfair. Anyway, so once me and my friends start dating and telling everyone in school, word gets round to our ex-boyfriend. He comes up and he's like, hey, gay people. We were like, what? He was like, you heard me. You gay, aren't you? He said, how do you know? He said, the word spread about. It's like, damn it. And so was she. We never wanted him to find out. Anyway, so he took Lucia away. She came back bruised and I was really upset. I punched him and made sure he was bruised as well. Luckily, he didn't punch me back. I wanted to make sure Lucia knew that I wasn't just going to be there for her looks. I wanted her to know I would fight for her when it was needed. Anyway, so we decided to punch this guy and beat him up. In the end, we decided to stay together and we told the whole school and everyone seemed okay with it. Anyway, that's the story. Bye-bye. Make sure to subscribe.